Behavior Genetics, Part 3. Family Environments, Personality Psychology. Dr. Michael Botwin, Department of Psychology, California State University, Fresno. In our study of behavior genetics, we have two forms of family environments to consider. The first is shared, or also called common, family environment. And these are the things that all members of a family equally share. And I'm usually speaking about the children of the family here. So these may be things like social economic status, the geographical location where the family was residing, family dietary habits, family social habits, anything that a family shares together. These are common experiences everyone has. Now the problem is that even with shared environment, they're not necessarily shared the same way. So let's look at the other component, non-shared family environment. And non-shared family environment simply are those aspects of the family environment that are uniquely experienced by an individual in that family. So you may get things like birth order, age gaps between siblings will affect non-shared family environment. Changes in family structure, like divorces or family social economic status, family structure, etc. All of these things give different experiences to the children in the same family. Let me give you a couple of examples of that. First, with birth order. There are some things in birth order that are very well studied, most notably by a researcher named Frank Solway. Now, what Solway has found, and he published in a popular book called Born to Rebel, is that usually the firstborn, the oldest child in a family, is the most obedient and conforming. They generally have high achievement striving, and they also turn out to be the most intelligent of the children. And then as you have succeeding children in the family, there is a slight, and before you firstborns go telling your siblings this information, remember it's very slight, decrease in measured intelligence across succeeding children. There are two caveats to that. The first caveat is age gap. Is there is a substantial age gap between one child and the next child. This effect, which is called a confluence effect, goes away. In my family, my stepson is 16 years older than the next oldest son. And so naturally, they're not competing for the same thing. 16-year-olds don't compete for the same type of parental attention that babies do. When my son James was 18, he got his driver's license, a little off time to quote a previous lecture. We were sitting around the dinner table after he got his license, and we were telling him how cool it was he got his license, giving him a lot of positive feedback and things like that. And my son David, who was at that time 2, looked around and said, "Why can't I drive? I'm a kid in this family, he's a kid in this family. That's not fair." Well, the relatively simple answer to that was, not besides you're not old enough, it's one, you can't see over the wheel, and 2, your legs aren't long enough to get to the pedals, which seemed to be an adequate answer to assuage David at that time. So when there's a big gap between children's ages, that effect goes away. When there are a large number of children in a family, I looked for a picture of a large family with a large number of kids. This particular family in this picture has 16 children. You can see they are descending in age and height. Cute picture. What happens is the older children become pseudo-parents to the younger children. They help them with their homework. They help them learn the life lessons that we all need to learn. So instead of that effect of intelligence kind of going slightly down over a number of children, what happens is you get a U-shaped curve. And the younger children usually do about as well in intelligence scores as the older children. Now this begs the question, are the older children really smarter than the younger children? And most researchers would say no. Because if you think about it, when there's one child in a family, that child gets 100% of parental investment. The second child comes along, and probably the best they can do on average is 50% parental investment. And so by the time you get several children, the amount of time a parent can invest in a large number of children decreases. So it's more likely the parental investment that's causing those effects than any real differences in base levels of intelligence. But I find non-shared family environment effects quite fascinating. In our fourth and final segment on behavior genetics, we'll put all of this material together and look at research indicating that a vast quantity of variance is inherited for the major personality traits. Good stuff. We'll see you next time in Personality Psychology. Bye now. This has been a We Have Couches video production. Copyright 2020, Professor Michael Gottlieb. All rights reserved.